Good evening and welcome to the We Are Rise show. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas to everybody, one and all. Welcome in. It's it's crazy. Yeah, it's all coming down like a monkey, but it's all right. Look, I'm just laughing my ass off about everything that I see. It's become so comical in a lot of different ways. And tonight's show, scrolling through the distractions, and there are many. The EU, the Federal Reserve, dopamine psyops. We'll cover that. The Kirks, Venezuela, and so much more. Wait till I show you about the NDAA that just passed the House. Wait till you see what's in that stuff. That's going to be crazies. Welcome in pill.net and hello on Rumble. And yes, we are on YouTube. We're out there. I saw some people the other day that were on YouTube. You joined late. I'll be checking in and out. So just want to say hi to everybody out there. Share and subscribe. It's really important. Leave us a comment. Let me know what you think about everything going on. It's good to have a third platform that we're expanding on. Welcome in my co-host, Marshall Smith. What's up, buddy? How you doing? How's your holiday so far?
It's fine. Everything's cruising along. I think we're going to have cheaper gas coming up real soon.
Did you buy a tree? Did you rip out like
man? I can't. Man, they want like $170 for an 8-foot tree, man.
Can we donate a tree to Marshall? Can we get him a Charlie Brown tree?
I don't want a tree, man. I can't.
Can we just get the sticks on it?
Yeah, I can't afford the electric.
Not a broken menorah.
Forget it. It sounds like the warm and cold. It sounds like the change in temperatures giving your sinuses a run for the money, buddy.
Oh, is my I've been having don't like
that hot and cold weather. Hot and cold.
I have been having
chilly and warm. And warm.
Don't like the circles though, Brett. Ugh. I don't know what you mean by that. Would USA please? I don't know what that is. No, I've been dealing with sinus infections.
Circles around our face.
Oh yeah, no, I've been. You don't like the circles? Don't like?
They don't like us in the circle.
Oh, is that what you're saying? Okay, well, I did it so everybody could see the artwork, but you don't care about the artwork. Well, then
they like your face.
No, I'm just joking. I'm just teasing. Okay, then if you don't like that, tell me what you like. Do you like this? Is that better?
They want us taking up the video
feed
screen.
Is that what you like?
That's the one they like.
Okay.
They want to see into my room, man.
You don't want to see into his room. You don't want to know what's there. Okay. But if this is what
they like to see Murphy, my dog.
The artwork is cool. Thanks. Would USA? Do you like this? Do you guys like this? Give me a thumbs up. 1 yes, 2 no. Okay. If you don't like this, what's up, Thea? How you doing? Patty B. Welcome in. Who else is here? Would USA dropping 117 gold pills. Thea dropping 300. Thank you so much. Another day in the Hunger Games. Yeah, another day in this messed up world we live in. I mean, honestly, it's the distractions are just really haunting. What's up, Trusty Turnham? Let me know. Give me a 1 if you like this, or do you like the circle or the
they
square?
Like my poster in the back.
You like the rectangle, the square, the circle? I'll just leave it like this because this is how it was.
The one we always use, man.
Yeah, I'll just leave it like this. So what's up over here on Rumble? Yes, I saw you, True Taryn. Yeah, prayer for my friend Julie. She was jabbed with cancer. My God. I'm sorry. That fucking sucks. Yeah, look, my advice, I like the bigger, but yes, the artwork's cool. Okay.
You can still see the artwork, though.
No, that's fine. If you guys like it, I'm not going to change it. Like someone said to me the other day, it's like they were sending me, please don't change the music. I like the music. And then someone said, can you update the music? And I'm like, all right, whatever. So the Wellness Company, yes, I buy stuff there. I like it. Little pricey, though. So if your friend has cancer, I had skin cancer. It's gone. I was treating with ivermectin for a long time. It went away within months. Probably less than 6 months. I'll just say that. And it works great. And I still use ivermectin on a daily basis at night. I put it on certain areas. I use it on circles and it works great. I don't use moisturizer. I don't use any of that. We live in Florida. It's humid all the time. My advice is check out that allfamilypharmacy.com or the Wellness Company. I'm not, I don't work with them. They're not my sponsors. I don't get paid for them, but I do use them. And I go to dermatologists and I like ivermectin. I know that mendobenzol, they have combinations of that could probably help your friend. I don't know what type of cancer she has, but obviously you need to look into it. They could put you on a regimen. I would consider that. I mean, honestly, I would be taking as much stuff as I can if I had something of that nature from the jab.
I saw a protocol that somebody was talking about on X, and it
Well,
was a combination of menbendazole, fenbendazole, and ivermectin.
yeah. There's actually one
I
they
have the
oh yeah, the Rumble
amount.
company
If they
put one
want it
together.
later on, I could send it to them.
Yeah, just drop it in the Rumble chat. Drop it in the Rumble
I
chat,
don't
and
have it
then
right now, but if they
yeah.
want it, just let us know. I'll give it to Brett.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I see you, Trusty Turnip. Looks great. Rectangle for me. All right. Everybody likes the rectangle, not the square and not the circle. Okay. All right. No, this is a rectangle. This is a
That's what we've
square,
always done.
and this is
I
a
like the
circle.
rectangle better myself. I mean, I mean,
No, everybody. I know. I do too, but everybody likes this, so I'm gonna leave it at that. And I don't want to piss because everybody's like, "Put it back." I'm like, Jesus.
well, the older you
The
get, the harder
rectangle is better with the background
difficult
behind.
for
Yeah, I
change.
get you. I just wanted
Change
to
is
display.
difficult for older people.
I understand. I just wanted to display the artwork. I've been really doing a lot of artwork and stuff, and I wanted to make the backgrounds really cool and
It's a real
stuff.
beaut, Clock.
Yeah, it's a Butte Clark. It's a Butte Clark. Anyway,
I like Ruth.
yeah. All right, so we're gonna get into it tonight. I want to start with the news of the day, which I thought was, there's a couple of things on the news of the day. We'll get to the dopamine psyops that some people were stealing from my Telegram. Some people, I'm not going to name people, but anyway, it's a good
These
discussion.
people, man, you can't.
You know those people. All right.
So,
but we're just the doom scrolling, the endless compulsive consumption and absorption of distressing content, of rabbit holes. Can you dig it? You can't. You're stuck in this. I don't know what to say it is. I think as we come out of the mainstream media, in some ways, we're open to a lot of different conditioning, and some people are consumed by it and they can't let it go. And some people are influenced by it. Even the influencers are influenced by it. And I think that's the thing that's why you should not follow anybody. You should always have your own stream of consciousness, have your own thought process. I think it's key. It's the way you could bifurcate all the noise. And that's the most important thing. Don't toe the line. Don't run with the narrative per se. I mean, and that's what I'm saying, and I think we'll get into an explanation of that really soon. But I want to talk about the Federal Reserve. This is really important today. So this is the third month in a row, September and October. Well, not in a row, but September and October, they lowered the interest rates by a quarter. So right now, the Fed cuts the interest rates, signals pause going to 2026. Now, that is key to understand what's happening. Now, what are they looking about in 2026? We'll get to that. The Federal Reserve cut interest rates for the third time this year, Wednesday, amid significant internal dissent and signs that further rate cuts are likely. It was 93 decision of the governors, and there were people inside that wanted to raise it to about a half, 0.50. And they didn't do it. And there was a fight about that. And this is the internal struggle that's going on inside the Fed. There are governors that are leaving. Powell's going to be removed, and there are going to be other people put in position. You could see the noose tightening on the federal board of governors and how these things are going to be streamlined. But the most important thing, this signifies a lot of positivity going forward. Is it a risk management approach? Yes, it is, but we'll get to that. The Fed has delivered the interest rates relief President Trump is repeatedly demanding, though as chair, Jerome Powell approaches his final months in office, the path of policy ahead is clouded in uncertainty. Driving the news, the policy setting Federal Open Market Committee lowered its target between 3.5 to 3.7%. Three officials dissented. Chicago Fed President Austin Goolsbee, that's an Obama guy. KC Fed President Jeff Schmid favored leaving rates steady, while Governor Stephen Moran preferred to cut rates even more aggressively. Yes, up to 0.5. They wanted that. There was other people talking about a 0.75. Notably, new projections showed 6 out of the 19 Fed officials believed that it would be more appropriate to leave the rate steady and meeting rather than cut. These shadow dissents likely include Goolsbee and Schmidt, along with other officials who either do not have a vote this year or had reservations about the rate cuts. What are they saying? Powell signaled this. Rate cuts months ahead, no guarantee. We're well positioned to wait and see the economy evolves. Importantly, Powell noted that the third consecutive rate cut means monetary policy is in the range of neutral stance, meaning it's neither stimulates nor restrains the economy. Between the lines, The divides with the Fed have flared publicly since the last policy meeting at the end of October. This is the key. One faction led by 3 Trump-appointed governors argues that there are signs of incipient weakness in the job market that the Fed should address, and that the elevated inflation due to tariffs will prove temporary. Another faction, which includes many presidents of the reserve banks around the country, see inflation persistently around above the Fed's 2% target, with a little sign that'll fall quickly, paired with the job market. The compromise appears to be enacting this week's cut, keeping the Fed options open for 2026. Term as chair ends in May. I believe it's going to end a lot sooner. I believe that the idea that we're discussing May, it's going to come probably in February. I would say February and March that he will step down, and then President Trump will have someone ready to go. Is actually weighing his replacement. Kevin Hassett is going to be from the was it the OMB? I don't know if he's from the OMB. White House Economic Advisor Kevin Hassett. He's got the top opportunity to be and fill that position. The media Fed officials anticipates only one more rate cut will be appropriate next year, but 4 policymakers expect 2. So they're only projecting that there's only going to be a couple next year. And what does that mean? What does that look like? Let's go over this right now. So another quarter, so to speak, that the Fed has basically lowered rates. Lower rates makes it cheaper to borrow, invest, more hiring, more expansion, trade-offs per se, stabilizes unemployment, which is at 4.4%, boosts stock markets, whether you care or not, risk assets, borrowing for consumers, businesses, mortgages, auto loans, credit card rates will trim lower over a period of time. Give it about a month or so to kick in sometime next year. It makes it, let's just say, affordable for bigger purchases as well to consider that. The 30-year fixed mortgage could drop to below 6%. This is a sign going into the first and second quarter. I believe that will help initiate and spur some type of buyer's market in some way. Businesses get relief on these expansion loans, and more consumer spending will be upticked. And maybe you'll see it. Well, you saw it on Cyber Monday. You saw it on Friday with the Black Friday, so to speak. This boosts exports, weakens the dollar, the capital investments increase, and this is this cautious optimism, Marshall, or is this guarded hope with sober and tempered pragmatism lurking toward 2026? I believe that the first 2 quarters of 2026 will really kick things off, and I think it'll blow up. And I think people are, they're waiting for this to happen. And I think we will see this. I think it's not overreactionary. I think in some way they're setting this up. And the other rate decrease, well, that's going to come into play, might not come in until February. They're probably saying between February and March, based on the numbers that we see in some way. Marshall, your thoughts about the Federal Reserve, where we're going with this? What's your understanding about all this? I mean, do you like this? I mean, do you think that there's something in place here?
Yeah, I think there's a slow dismantling, demolition going on. I think that what's going to happen is they said they project only maybe 2 cuts next year. Okay, well, what you're doing is you're projecting to me that when the new guy comes in, which he will, probably in February or March, like you said, that is going to be he or she, whatever, is going to be the person that is going to oversee the slow dismantling of the Fed, I believe. I think it's gradually going to be to where you won't have to ask the Fed if there's, because it won't be there.
How about this? The Fed is buying $40 billion in Treasury securities. What does that tell you? Wow. The central bank anticipates the purchase will remain elevated for months, highlighting the meaning. Wow, this is pretty big. The Federal Reserve rate cut wasn't only the decision made on Wednesday. The central bank will once again begin buying Treasury securities in October. The Fed will halt the balance sheet runoff to provide more liquidity to markets and the economy. However, it will resume buying the $40 billion in Treasury bills on Friday. Powell threaded the needle again in a time when the Fed is dealing with major pressures. This gives policymakers time to get caught up on the economic data after the shutdown. It makes January more important as a meeting, but it'll still give investors some holiday cheer. Yes, this will be, I think there will be an influx of monetary spending. I think that this will help propel and galvanize this holiday time of spending. This will give people an opportunity with interest rates on their credit cards, auto loans, mortgages, big box purchase tickets per se. So does this come at the right time? Is this never too late? I mean, not too late or never too late. We're always late, Powell, as President Trump likes to opine about all the time. It seems to me that it almost seems like it just came at the right time in some way to ease the tensions of what's going on. I think in some way we see the writing on the wall. We know Kevin Hassert's coming probably between February and March. I think Jerome Powell will resign. I don't think he's going to be fired. I think he'll step down before May. I think so. You got to consider it's going to be in the first quarter. And that's the most important time to make the transition. And so I don't think Jerome Powell is going to be removed. I mean, his step down is that he will leave his post prior to that. And I think that we'll have ample opportunity to start to, let's just say the big, beautiful bill kicks in. All the infrastructure packaging that is, let's just say, surrounded with that's going to open up the tax deductions of all the taxes that, no tax on tips, no tax on that. Starting getting the conversation up with property taxes, no property taxes, and local state municipalities like in Florida that they're looking at, and other states as well. The concept of income taxes. We're going to talk about another thing that's out there. Trending Politics put this out. President Trump green lights to send $1,500. Now, this is about healthcare. I think this is important. Green lights a plan to send $1,500 checks to Americans. President Trump is backing a Republican proposal that would be as much as $15 directly in Americans' health savings accounts, money they can use for medical expenses instead of lining insurance pockets. All right. The bill would lead Cassidy of Louisiana and Crapo of Idaho gives $1,000 to Affordable Care Act enrollees 18 to 49, $1,500 to those 50 to 64. The cash would go straight into health savings account, not to insurers of government programs. Now, the question is, how many of the people? Is that just directly the people on the Affordable Care Act, or is that everybody else in some way? I want to get people's understanding about this. To qualify, a person must have a bronch or a catastrophic plan on the ACA marketplace and earn up to 700% of the poverty level, and up to $105,420 for a single filer, and up to $218 for a family of four. Silver, gold, platinum enrollees wouldn't receive the payouts. Okay. Trump says the plan puts Americans in control of their coverage. I want to give the people a better health insurance for less money. He told Politico, the people will get the money and they're going to buy health insurance. I like this. I like where he's going with this. This is what he's saying. Bifurcate the insurance companies, bifurcate this whole thing, put it in their pockets, put it right into the health savings account, put it into wherever it's going to go. And this is good. I'm all for it because everybody was bitching and moaning 3 months ago. And also when the shutdown happened, that, our healthcare is going through the roof. No one can fix anything. They don't know what's going to happen. And I think this is some way to set up, 2026. Marshall, your thoughts?
Yeah, well, they're going to, people are going to have to thank him for that if this goes through, because I believe it's next month is when the massive increase comes. It's going to be a big increase.
Right.
It's coming, and they're going to be sticker shocked. Those people that signed up for this racket, this Obamacare. I never did it, but I was under the radar, so I didn't get wasn't there there was like a fine. You had to pay a fine if you didn't.
Yeah.
I was under the radar and all that, so I didn't get involved with any of it, and I just pay a local. But this is going to make people that are on that, which are a lot of liberals, or mostly liberals. I don't know. I guess a lot of people, they're going to be happy. They should be. They should be like, look, this was part of Obamacare, and Trump is trying to help you out here. Trying to help a brother out.
He says here, with Republicans aiming to keep control, Trump is betting on the message that hits the wall, gives American money to spend on healthcare the way they choose, and stop sending billions of dollars to insurance companies that have been ripping them off for years. I mean, yeah. I don't know if Congress is signaling that they're going to do anything. Either shut down Obamacare, replace it. I don't know what their plans are next year. It's all over the place. Maybe substitute it with something else. I don't know if they have the fortitude or wherewithal to do it. I don't know why, but in some way, something has to be done to fix this, and it can't continue on much longer. And this is part of the reasoning and rationale of why the Republicans are let's put it this way. They're lacking energy in some way. They're low energy Jeb Bush at the moment. And this gives rise and spark to the comment about people talking about the blue hair wave that's going to come in and going to, overtake the Republican Party. I was reading polls that we're going to be up plus 12, supposedly, the Republicans, with the new redistricting that's going to take place. Okay, that's fine. Depending on so many open seats right now, is like what? How many seats? There's 435, but then you got about 25 different seats that are going to be open both sides. I don't know where this is going to come from, but I'm tired of dealing with the ideas that we're waiting. Let's wait till the quarter. Let's wait till the new year. Let's get the new bills in place and stuff. We got to pass the NDA. Look, by January 30th, you're going to go through another shutdown. If you don't fix the problems we have now, we're going to go through another shutdown. And I don't know what the end all be all is going to be with that, because they're going to try and find every way they can to disrupt President Trump's big, beautiful bill from kicking in, all these other things that are going to be taking place. Are we going to go through this again? What are the plans that are going to take place? I don't know. I don't know if they have a plan in place. I like to think they do, but I'm not really sure. I'm not holding out hope with them. But if they don't get their act straight come by the end of January and stuff, this is really going to resonate, I think, into, I believe, the summer. And I think that you can't have another shutdown, and this time it will be blamed on the Republicans. They have to make sure in some way they fix whatever needs to be fixed, they acquiesce, and they adhere to what President Trump wants to do. And this is the ACA, the number one, the Obamacare. That's the number one sticking point. Everything else is completely different, Marshall.
The sausage launcher was mentioned about the stimulus or the dividend. They're two
Yeah.
different things. They're
Yeah.
two different things. This insurance thing is for people that got suckered into Obamacare or were forced into Obamacare because they had
Right.
this fine that you had to pay. So the dividend check, that's completely separate. And I hope it's more than $2,000.
Yeah, this is about the $1,500 to $2,000. You're talking about
Yeah,
money
it's
that's going to be
insurance.
paying to people in their health savings account, what they have that is constructed for people with Obamacare, so they don't have to spend the money outsourcing to the middlemen of the
Right.
healthcare companies.
Yep.
And so it goes directly in your pocket, and then you can utilize it the way you want to and for your family. Is this a temporary situation? Well, yeah. I mean, we're talking about January 30th. They still have to go through, I think, the plan of overhauling what they need to do with the ACA. And I think that, passing the NDAA today, which we'll get to, that's probably going to be the last bit of legislation going forward. By the way, in the NDA that they passed, like 319 to something, did you know they're inside that bill? 15 of President Trump's executive orders will be codified. We'll get to it. It's quite striking, amazing.
It's a good thing.
Like, share, and subscribe. Drop us a gold pill. Hit the bell to be notified. Hit the red pill if you like the show. If you want to help out, MarshallKofi.com/SwiftDog74. You can help us out over here on Rumble. Drop us a Rumble rant. Let's hear your comments, questions, or concerns if you want to support the platform. Okay, let's get into the tanker. So the tanker seizure that signals the end of Venezuela dictatorship. So the United States seized a very large tanker. What does this mean? In some way, does this end their dictatorship? The prevailing viewpoint, and this comes from Amuse, this is a good overview, media story. I didn't like the Bloomberg article, so I'm going to cover this. Media story about the U.S. military buildup in the Caribbean holds that the Washington is escalating its war on narco traffickers. This story sounds plausible enough. It fits neatly within old frameworks and allows commentaries to recycle familiar talking points about interdiction, cartels, regional corruption. It is not that at all. Yet the closer one looks, the less the narrative fits the facts. The scale and prediction and precision of the forces deployed by the Trump administration reveal a different strategic purpose. The aim is to enforce sanctions on Venezuela with real rigor, and in doing so, to deny Nicolas Maduro the only revenue stream that sustains his dictatorship, which is unfolding, is a pressure campaign crafted to liberate Venezuela without firing a shot. If one doubts that such an approach could reshape the political landscape of an entrenched authoritarian state, it helps to examine both the nature of the deployment and the economic fragility of Maduro's regime. Once these pieces are in view, the plan becomes strikingly clear. So here's the strike package that they have here. U.S. Navy, Marine Corps, look what they have here. Expeditionary packages. the amphibious ready groups, other naval assets, Coast Guard, littoral combat ships, military sea left commands, U.S. Southern Command. The deployment pattern is in place to start. A force designed to intercept small narco vessels looks one way, and force to design to restrict a sovereign state's exports. Exports. Remember, we talked about the oil, the natural resources, everything else, the gold, the diamonds, all these other things, the gas. They involve fast pursuit craft, helicopters, and limited surveillance assets to track go fast boats. By contrast, the Caribbean force assembled by the administration is built around cutters, maritime patrol, aircraft, long range surveillance platforms, and U.S. Navy assets positioned directly over Venezuela's known export routes. These routes run through the Caribbean basin and form the arteries through which over 90% of Venezuela's oil shipments pass their way through offshore transfer zones. To see why this matters, it helps to recall how Venezuela exports oil in the current sanctioned environment. The regime cannot sell openly to world markets. This is important. So it relies on tankers, ship to ship transfers, altered documentation, offshore blending operations. Imagine a river that has been blocked at its source. Smugglers will dig channels around the blockage. They will disguise the water, relabel it, pass it along through intermediaries. But these channels work only as long as the sheriff stays out of the valley. If he places deputies along every gap in the rocks, the water stops flowing. The U.S. has now placed those deputies, surveillance aircraft, can track tankers, even when transponders are off. Wow. Coast Guard and Navy vessels can board ships whose insurance, flag, ownership structure raises red flags. Maritime patrols can watch known transfer points near Trinidad, Aruba, Curacao. Many of the tankers Maduro relies on already operate in legal gray zones. They change names and flags, spoof transponders, and use shell companies in opaque jurisdictions. These invasions are also useful when no one is watching. I'm going to leave it at that. This is a long discussion, excellent article by Amuse, but really gives you an overview of understanding what we're dealing with. And it's not just them coming over here with the oil and exporting in some way. They're also taking the drugs. They're also taking other stuff simultaneously that they're passing off that go into these tankers that are hidden as well. And then they transport that out to those areas that we're seeing. And I think that this right now, it's not just signaling Venezuela's end to their dictatorship. It cuts off their supply source in every way, their monetary funding, which was really not necessarily the narco trafficking, all these other things that they're facilitating behind the scenes. But if you cut off the money of the oil exportation, this basically strangleholds them, strangleholds their country, which is run off of that. Without oil revenue, Maduro has no regime. I think so. And the tanker was not simply a rogue vessel. It represented the entire export model that Caracas has depended on for years. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Marshall, your thoughts? What a great overview of this.
Yeah, this ship is massive. It holds over 2 million barrels of oil.
Mm,
However, this ship was only had half that capacity. It had just over 1 million barrels of oil. So the question you want to ask yourself, what else was on that ship? Were there
hmm
humans on that ship?
Yeah.
Were there drugs on that ship? Were there weapons and other things on that ship?
What were
It
they
didn't.
transporting
It was
back?
only half full. Only
Right.
half
What were
full.
they transporting over? Okay. They were
And,
picking up the oil
and
and what?
I think we
Sending it
should.
out. And then what were they, what? Dropping off. Or, see, the whole thing is that you can't pigeonhole this thing into one narrative selectively. All right. What it is that if you cut down the oil exportation, all right, you stranglehold them in a lot of different ways, that they'll find other resources to benefit off them. But they've already been paid out. We're not suggesting that the regime per se not just is facilitating the drug trade, the trial trafficking trade, they already get their cut. But that's not enough to what, in some way, incentivize a flow per se. The question is, what money, what avenues are going to break up? We haven't seen a pie chart of how this is actually broken down and where they get the most amount of money from.
I think we should increase the size of some of the bases we have in the Caribbean,
Yeah.
or create a new one. We need a large. We need to make our presence more prevalent here in our hemisphere in the Caribbean, and reduce those ones like in Wiesbaden, Germany, etc.
Right.
That's what we really need to do.
Well, that's what we need to do. But the NDA has a lot of stuff in it. We'll talk about Daughtry. What happens to the oil on the tanker you seize near Venezuela? Well, we keep the oil, I guess. Where does it go? Trump, you're a good news man. Just a helicopter and go follow the tanker. This is hilarious.
Well, we keep it, I guess.
Where does it go? What does it go to?
Well, you have to follow the tanker. You're a good newsman. Just follow the tanker.
Do you know where it's
Follow,
going? Was it going
follow
to
it.
China?
Get a helicopter and follow the tanker.
Is it true it's going to
But we're gonna, I assume we're gonna keep the,
Mr. President, on Fed Chair, Kevin House.
So what do you think about that? Keeping the oil. That's, President Trump used to say that about Iraq, and we didn't do that. And I think in some way, yeah, we're going to keep it. So where's it going to go now? We're going to inspect the ship per se. That we're not inspecting it now, obviously. And where is it going to go? Is it going to go to the United States in some way? Is it going to go to one of the allies? I don't know. I think he's playing coy, but are you serious about this? This is now ours. We've now seized it in some way. And whatever's on there that may be illegal in this matter, this is going to come out. And I think a lot of people right now are wondering, what are we seizing? What are we seeing right now? That's why he's saying get a helicopter, follow it, and figure it out. They're not going to tell you right now what they uncovered or rediscovered on this ship and what was supposed to be the transport routes of oil or whatever else they were trafficking in there per se, Marshall. And I think in some way we need to start thinking about in logical terms. Are they also transporting in some way terrorism? I mean, you have to consider that they're going on these ships and they're going to all these other areas in some way. I mean, what else are they exporting per se?
Yeah, I mean, a million barrels of oil is a lot of oil. That could help us a lot. That's the first thing. And the fact that it was only half the amount that ship holds, with all that extra capacity, what's in there? I think this ship is headed toward, I would say, one of our ports on the East Coast primarily.
Are there arms on there? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean,
there could be nukes. There could be anything.
Yeah, I mean, look,
it was an Iranian ship, Brett. It was an Iranian ship, original.
Yeah, there's more than meets the eye. Yes, I agree, Sausage Launcher. You have to consider that. None of this stuff that we're seeing, terrorism, weapons, a variety of different caches, whether it's trafficking or what have you and subway, you have to all consider that what's on this ship. And when President Trump says to Colombia, he's going to have himself to wise up. Colombia is producing a lot of drugs. They have cocaine factories. Better wise up.
Three countries sending drugs to the U.S., Mexico, Venezuela, and Colombia. And you talked to the president of Mexico. You already talked to Nicolas Maduro. Have you considered talking to the president of Colombia, who you call a drug leader?
no, I haven't really thought too much about him. He's been fairly hostile to the United States, and I haven't given him a lot of thought. He's going to have himself some big problems if he doesn't wise up. Colombia is producing a lot of drugs. They have cocaine factories that they make cocaine, as you know, and they sell it right into the United States. So he better wise up. He'll be next too. And I hope he's listening. He's going to be next. Yes. We don't like people when they kill people, and they sell drugs. They kill them in the United States, and Colombia is a major manufacturer of drugs, meaning cocaine in particular, as you know.
I believe when the Maduro regime falls, Colombia is next. And I think that will signal, and that's why you're seeing this. This will signal what's going to happen in Colombia, Peru, and all these other Latin American nations that will feel the effect of the Maduro regime tumbling in a lot of ways. They'll have to look at it this way. Am I next? Mexico might feel a reverberation as well. Keep an eye on Mexico and Shinebox. And as Maduro goes, a lot of these Latin nations will fall as well. And we'll start to find out what the real, let's just say, rationale of us being there regarding the elections and all these other things were taking place. I got something else on there.
Well, in Brazil too. Don't forget them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'll signal a whole lot of. It'll have a kind of a ripple effect, so to speak.
Okay, let me show you this. This came out with Alex Jones. I saw this. This was interesting. Let me play this. So apparently, psychopaths behind the Venezuelan regime revealed. Learn how Hugo Chavez and the Venezuelans took over the election industry in the U.S. and worldwide. Let's play this.
Of the brother-sister team who are the center of the Venezuelan regime.
That's like Obama raised by Bill Ayers, the weatherman,
Right.
and his real dad being the head of the Communist Party.
Right. Frank Marshall or something, right?
Right, yeah.
Well, so
Right, Marshall Davis.
that's quite interesting. In addition, so these are the guys, this guy on the right, I mean, I won't throw names at you, but just remember the guy I call the Hannibal Lecter of the regime. That guy on the right is actually—
Why not just say names?
But, well, people get confused when you use too many Latin names. Just know that the guy who's the president is really number 4 or 5 in the country. The guy above
You're saying these are the real people.
The real people are these guys and a guy named Diosdado Cabello, who's the formal godfather of the regime, of the mafia. But the godfather of the mafia reports to those two masterminds. And she's the vice. So it doesn't matter that on paper she's the vice president and he on paper is just some psychiatrist.
And that's why Trump wants total regime change, because they're trying, the CIA wants them to kind of leave people in place.
The CIA wants that woman to take over. The CIA, in fact, Rick Grinnell was down.
Now, just to give you some background, I'm not going to cover it, but Patrick Byrne came out on Emma Robinson's show not even like a day or two ago and said that he was a CIA agent or operative that worked through the Obama machine under Obama during the time with John Brennan and many other things. And he was able to see what was taking place with the Russiagate, the fast and loose of all this absurdity that was taking place. So he's come out and outed himself on many instances about that he's connected with the CIA. I don't know if he still is, but he's speaking out now. I wonder why he's coming out right now. So this was released about 48 hours ago.
He better be careful. He better be careful.
I do not think this is public. Rick Grinnell was down in Caracas a week ago trying to make a deal where they say, okay, we'll give up Maduro and we'll just make her be. And Rick Grinnell and the CIA is trying to get that snake to be the replacement for Maduro. We're going from cartel to cartel heavy to do that. It's ridiculous. Why are so many people, if you go through if you get into the watch industry, you'll find Swiss people all over the world in the watch industry. If you go into the diamond business, you'll find Orthodox Jews all over. If you get into the election industry in the United States, you're going to find Venezuelans all through, Venezuelan immigrants in Chicago, in Dallas, in Atlanta. That seems odd. Is Venezuela known for having such wonderful elections that we would find their immigrants?
So how did it start then?
It started, I'll tell you just how it started. Hugo Chavez comes to power. He's got this mafia that's around him, comes to power.
And just like in the narco movies that are hits and so accurate, how Mexico's been stealing elections and got caught, it's the senior partners, so that's where they're getting it.
Venezuela is the senior partner to Mexico. The Mexican cartels are the little brothers of the Venezuelan cartel. That's why we have to hit there. And you see all this stupid mainstream press saying, well, only this amount of fentanyl goes through there and only this amount of cocaine. Adding what matters. It's the headquarters. It's the headquarters is what matters.
It's like in Starship Troopers. You got to get the brain bug.
Yeah, you got to get the alien Queen Bee. So the electoral fraud, also trace it back. But that's shocking that our election systems report ultimately, when you're voting on Dominion, which now doesn't exist, that technology inside is actually, when you get through all the company licenses and blah, 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 it's Smartmatic. And Smartmatic is a creation. It's the commercial vehicle of the Venezuelan Election Commission, which is run by the general he just mentioned. And it all reports to that brother and sister, the stepchildren of Jorge Rodriguez. I mean, the stepchildren of Carlos the Jackal.
Wow. I'm not going to go through it, but I think that's a good overview. And I think people understand now what this is really about in Venezuela. It's about bringing down a regime that had massive amounts of control, not just in our election, many other elections in some way. And it's been now thwarted and it's been stopped in some way. It's been blockaded. And I think the only way that we need to, we're probably going to have to go in and have these people arrested. You're going to have to break this enterprise up, like you said, this mafia thing. And I think a lot of people are going to be completely surprised and blown away about the idea that Venezuela was controlling our elections for a period of time, for a long time in some way, going back to 2004, when the initial push of Chavez and the idea of getting Dominion and Smartmatic in there per se. And, you can see Dominion's gone, Smartmatic, I think they lost a lawsuit with Mike Lindell, and I think they're going back and forth about that, about not admitting this, and now they're going to sue him again. I don't know where that's going to go and where that's going to lie. I think overall is that people need to realize that Venezuela right now has a major, let's just say, influence throughout many nations in the United States, Latin America, South America, and what have you. And how did that happen? How did they get that? See, that's where we need to understand. We need to process. How did this happen? Who gave them this viability? Who gave them the affordability to process these things in this manner? Was the CIA involved? Probably. Was Obama involved with it? Most likely. How many other people were part of this enterprise to set Venezuela up as this large-ass multinational corporation of exporting fake elections? This is, I think, the coup de grace. When you really break it down, everything else is secondary, Marshall.
The same people that were involved with Ukraine. I guarantee you. Their
Oh, yeah.
tentacles are all in this. Just like
National corporations. That's my
yes.
guess.
And when he mentioned Rick Grinnell, I thought Rick Grinnell, isn't he involved with the Kennedy Center?
Rick Grinnell was former
like,
DNI. He was former DNI
okay, so
under
he was
the first
talking
term.
from
So he
former-
worked inside and out with the CIA and intelligence apparatus. He was also ambassador
But he's
to
not
Germany.
that now. He's with the Kennedy Center.
Yeah,
isn't he?
but it doesn't mean he doesn't still have his intelligence
Well,
shop
that's a
still,
bad
and he's
idea.
there mitigating. I don't know what he's doing. In some way, there's a lot of people saying that I've already heard this. Yes, Patrick Byrne was the former CEO of Overstock.
Yeah,
It is shocking that there are many different people. I just saw an article. I will actually probably bring it up on Friday, that how many former heads of CEO and operations worked for the CIA. You would be blown away. Quite a few. They were installed there. They were set up there. Understand why that was. I mean, do you believe Patrick Byrne? He's come out right now and he's exposing a lot of stuff. I mean, I don't know what to say.
He reminds me of McAfee. You know, McAfee, the security, computer security guy, McAfee. What's his name? Phil? Something like that.
Oh, yeah, Phil. Yeah.
Yeah, the party guy. I mean, that guy was a rager. I don't know where he is. I guess he's died or something, or he disappeared or something. I don't know, man.
I don't know.
But I remember he was telling a lot of stuff too, just like this guy.
It seems to me that he likes to speak a lot about a lot of things, and he's come out, quite seriously about explaining, his role, his emphasis in a lot of different things. I don't know what that means. I don't know what his position was in a lot of different things. I don't know why I'm freezing up. Okay, Trusty Turnip gifted a cookie. Every time Brett says per se, you have to take a drink. I know, I say per se a lot. Hogleg 71 gifted the can. Thank you for the cookie. Thea donated 300 gold pills. Hogleg donated the can and another cookie. Thank you so much. And thank you, Thea, for 300 gold pills. Like, share, and subscribe. Drop us gold pills. Comments, questions, concerns. If you want to help out Marshall, that's great. Ko-fi.com/surfdog74. You can also help us out on Rumble as well. All right. I don't know if I'm freezing up because of this article. It might be. It's from the Independent. Maybe I'm being attacked. I don't know what's going on. Ukraine-Russia war. Latest Kiev response to U.S. peace plan as Trump ramps up pressure on Zelensky. Zelensky doesn't want this deal. He wants a new deal. I think there's other things at foot right now. He's suggesting in some way that he's going to set up elections in the next couple of months. And so those elections will bring about new leadership. Now, will that new leadership help sign off on this? The post-war reconstruction and economic development will be among subjects on the table. Ukrainian leader has delivered revised 20-point framework. The U.S. would propose amendments, make the whole thing doable. The Trump administration, meanwhile, has denied pressuring Kiev into agreeing in a rapid peace deal with Russia, despite U.S. president reporting setting a Christmas deadline. I mean, honestly, how many we set up a Thanksgiving deadline, we set up a Christmas deadline. This guy has lost all beachfront properties President Trump has talked about. I mean, look, this is a matter of how much of the Donbass region, Zavritska, and many other different parts of the area that are Russian-speaking, Russian influence, and also energy sectors that they're going to have to give up. During a 2-hour call, U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff and Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, who seems to be in a lot of things these days, Jared Kushner. You notice that? He's involved with a lot of stuff these days behind the scenes. I've told Zelensky that the president wants to see a peace deal agreed with within weeks. However, Ukrainian negotiators say they have not been given sufficient details on security guarantees from Washington. No compromise has been reached. Washington previously pushed Kiev to cede the entire Donbass region, including areas of Donetsk and Luhansk regions, which are Russian, which still controls. Kiev has reportedly ruled this out. Here's the points. Officially respond to U.S. peace plan. Starmer and European allies discuss Ukraine peace plan with Trump. Yeah, I mean, look, the bottom line is that Trump possibility of walking away. This is all on them, and they're holding this up. Trump sets new Christmas deadline for Ukraine. Ukraine and U.S. resume talks to discuss plans for peace. And Zelensky, Ukraine reclaims large parts of the city of Porvesk. I think it's, look at this. Look at these pictures. Wow. So, see, these are the only pictures we see. I mean, why don't we get to see more? Trump sets new deadline. Zelensky has been told by Donald Trump that Ukraine has until Christmas to accept the deal and end the war. The latest deadline was relayed to Ukrainian president by Trump's special envoy Witkoff and son-in-law Kushner. Trump administration has resumed its efforts to pressure. Look, when you really think about what's going on, the sinister conspiracy behind Trump's blistering attacks on Europe, it's official. Europe is the call of weak leaders, according to the blistering attack by, yes, the EU. It's garbage. It's garbage what they're doing, suing Elon Musk for 140 or whatever it is, $1 billion, because of free speech. Well, too bad. The EU is garbage. The entity of the EU is very dark, very steeped in ominous treachery, very, let's just say, dark tentacles of like a specter per se. And I believe that is probably the reason why most of European nations have been fallen by this dark enterprise that controls them. And so President Trump making all these commentaries about forcing a stance like this, because this is what's holding up. NATO and the EU are holding this up because if President Trump leaves it, he's going to leave it in their hands. And we're not selling you missiles. You're on your own. His outburst follows a new international policy stance, which argues Europe faces civilization erasure and is already indulging in the censorship of free speech and the suppression of opposition. Look at UK. Thought crimes. They're arresting people for thought crimes and having emotions. There are not the latest social media posts that come from a crank in the White House. This is an assessment of the finest minds who have just produced the 2025 National Security Strategy. This is a written version of how the White House must see the world and means that they intend to get the rest of us to view the planet. Yes, he's trying to force them to see their ultimate demise, and I don't think they're seeing that right now. They're not there yet. Maybe some are seeing this, Marshall, but I think they're not there. They're focused on this because they make money off of this war. They don't care about Ukraine. This is about Russia. They're concerned that the land that's going to be ceded up, okay, will encroach upon Russia, encroach upon the European Union. And they're concerned about that. They're concerned about Russia per se. They say they're not, but the truth is they are concerned about Russia in general, getting close up into that border and ceding as much land as possible, taking so much away from Ukraine. And look, Ukraine is a criminal state. It's a mafioso state. So when you think about who operates them in some way, there has to be better control of this because the United States already sacrificed so much wealth for this and weaponry. I don't know how much more we can do. President Trump is basically saying, look, you have to do something about this, but if you can't get this solved, you got bigger problems to figure out in your own individual countries, not just the continent of Europe per se. It's generally speaking, Europe right now has to get a stranglehold of their migration or immigration problem or illegal immigration problem overall. And they're not doing a good job about it because this is a distraction. And overall, President Trump wants this to end.
Yeah, I mean, the guy's got to give it up, man. It's over. And the EU, Senior Poyo, the UK, you're exactly right. They are worse than China. The UK is probably our biggest enemy right now, in my opinion. They've been taken over by this globalist bullshit, and Russia said no, we're not doing it. They've got they're controlled by the central banks.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's done. Even Trump says it. He says, look at Europe. Look how they're done. They flooded all these people in there that aren't even European. The place looks like a shithole. Their main rivers are flooded with trash. It's really a shame. It's very sad. Very sad.
Well, look, when I look at this in some way, this is really about President Trump not telling Zelensky. I think he's going past Zelensky. He's saying to Europe, force him to do this. Get this done so we can move on. Let the provisions play out. If you don't do this, you're going to be enthralled and entangled this a lot longer, and you have bigger things to worry about in the Western Hemisphere of your own continent. And we don't need to be so, let's say, encapsulated with focusing on how much land is going to be ceded. There are deals in place in some way for the protection of Europe. But the longer this continues on, this hurts NATO, I think, in general. And look, Thomas Massey he's putting out a bill right now about trying to end NATO, about ending funding in NATO. They want to stick that in the NDA in some way, that it's this ambivalent, antique relic of the Cold War, which it is. Does it have any? We're still putting in almost 89% of the wealth into NATO to keep this thing afloat. The question is, why are we doing this when they're basically putting a gun to their own heads and killing themselves, suiciding themselves on a daily basis with this open border nonsense? And the fact is, they can't even settle this deal, and they're going to worry about Russia in the future?
NATO is a globalist deal. That's all it is. It's all it's ever been.
So is the EU.
Yeah, exactly. They're all part of the same deal in the UN, the United Nations. It's all part of the same little package. Sucker us into all these wars that just make them money and kill our people. That's all it is, along with a lot of other crap that they involved in it.
And I think that's why they put out strategic strategy about the Western Hemisphere and also Southern Hemisphere in regards to how they see this in some way, and how Trump is trying to help them gain control, seize their countries back from the massive blind spot of the EU. Yes, I think so in general. The EU has too much power in some way, and President Trump has warned them. All right, if you don't fix your problems and you're going to come after Elon Musk and X and any American company for free speech platforms, you better be careful. New battlefield AI platform is set to change how the U.S. forces make decisions. This was striking when I saw this. While skeptics are concerned about the ramifications of taking humans out of the equation in war, Secretary Hegseth sought to put those fears to rest. He recently unveiled a new AI-powered tool that he says will accentuate the top-tier training service member already, top training U.S. service members already received. We'll get into specifics. Check out Hegseth. He had to say in his own words. I'm not going to go through it. Let's just play it a little bit.
The future of American warfare is here, and it's spelled AI. As technologies advance, so do our adversaries. But here at the War Department, we are not sitting idly by. Under the leadership of President Trump, America will lead the charge on this technological transformation by revolutionizing the way we win. And that's why today we are unleashing GenAI.mil. This platform puts the world's most powerful frontier AI models, starting with Google Gemini, directly into the hands of every American warrior. At the click of a button, AI models on GenAI can be utilized to conduct deep research, format documents, and even analyze video or imagery at unprecedented speed. Building on the great work of Undersecretary Emil Michael and his team, we will continue to aggressively field the world's best technology to make our fighting force more lethal than ever before. And all of it is American-made. The possibilities with AI are endless. Now, let's get to work.
What do you think about that, Marshall, in some way? He says visitors to the site will find that it's available in a specialized version of Google AI tool Gemini for the government. Version is approved to handle controlled, unclassified information. A green banner at the top of the page reminds users what can and can't be shared on the site. Interesting. What do you think about this? The future of American warfare is here, and it's spelled AI. A lot of people have a problem with this. Military is embracing AI in a big way. It reminds me of when Skynet was going to go online in Terminator 3. Yeah, it does. It reminds me of that when it goes online. And I don't know if we're already online with that, but they're already foreshadowing the idea that the military will go online in this manner, and that the reality of how things will change in some way will be global. And Pentagon was already experimenting with generative AI across its offices, military branches. Google unveiled $200 million ceiling contract. I don't know. In July to deploy its frontier AI tools. Okay, so come next year, This is when it goes online. What's your thoughts? What's your thoughts in the chat? Is anybody concerned about that? Fuck that. Gemini's satanic and A is okay. Yeah, I don't like Gemini either. That's Google.
Problem I have with the main problem I have with was when the word Google came up.
Yeah,
that was my first problem. I can see AI being used as an advisory supplemental type thing where we are still, we can still do our thing on a physical basis. Also, when I think about AI, I think Congress with an American first, if we had an AI that ran Congress instead of congressional people that had an America first algorithm, that might be because we're not getting anything out of them. I mean, I'm kind of being funny here, kind of making fun, but Jesus, man. I mean, in a way, it could, I don't want to hand over everything to AI though. I'll just say that.
Well, I think this is the push. This is where things, when we slowly get into this is the fight. I think this is the new fight that we're going to see, the ongoing fight about people wanting to push back about how much control AI already has. And, I would argue that AI is already looming through government agencies right now, part of the Doge transformation, not just to root out the fraud, the waste, abuse, and all that stuff, is to set up guardrails and protections so things cannot be augmented and changed for future pretenses or future scenarios where someone could come in and rewrite the code and set this up. I mean, they're going to, basically have people monitor it and make sure that it's working up to par and it's carrying out its its duties some way, paying people out, making sure the ones and zeros, the binary numbers, the monies are going into the right appropriations. I think that's what it's all part of. And maybe other systematic things that we'll see. Trump's new Cold War with Europe. This was a good article from Axios. Let me put my address, my email in there. This was a good one. So you understand what's going on. We have a problem with Europe right now. And I think in some way, Trump is basically saying to them, be very careful. What you're doing with Elon Musk, $140 million in stuff, free speech, that's a problem. We're not going to tolerate that. The administration is engaged in open hostilities with the European Union, turning long submarine feuds over free speech, Ukraine, and mass migration. And I mean, look, could we walk away from them? I mean, we could walk away from all of this in some way. It's possible. But what does that leave them? What does that lead them to chance? I mean, obviously their descent will be rapid. I mean, if we basically say we've had enough and we cut ties with you because you don't like the fact is that we have a constitution, we have a Bill of Rights, we respect free speech, we respect our First Amendment rights in general. They don't. I mean, you think about more and more of these countries are turning pagan. And they're losing their civilization by the invaders of these third worlders all over. And they continue to basically shoot themselves in the foot. EU's $140 million fine, Musk's platform, lit the fuse on conflict of the Trump administration, was already primed for that, which he formalized a new national security strategy that cast Europe as a geopolitical villain. Inside that, think about how you look at the EU as specter. They're destroying their countries. Trump told politicals, slamming European nations as decaying and weak. The newest flashpoint comes as the U.S. and its allies are at loggerheads over Ukraine and the future European security. In the EU penalized X on Friday after regulators found the platform had misled users, obscured key advertising information, and blocked researchers from accessing data. Furious, Musk responded by accusing the EU of stifling free speech through bureaucratic tyranny, rallying far-right leaders and millions of followers behind hashtag abolish the EU. Poland's foreign minister, Radoslaw Sikorski, a strident defender of the EU, shot back in the midst of Musk's tweet storm, go to Mars. There's no censorship of Nazi salutes there. Wow. So this is heating up. Senior U.S. officials quickly piled on with Secretary Marco Rubio, calling the fine an attack on American tech platforms and the American people. Vance, widely known for administration's outspoken Eurosceptic, called the fine garbage and the product of X refusals to accept EU. You know, the whole thing about this contrived narrative that Musk and Trump and all this stuff. You could see it. It's written right in here. You see how they're coming to bat for him and defend him and protect free speech and what he's done to revolutionize and fix, at least in some way, X from Twitter. And I think that everybody's coming out and realizing in some way that what the EU is doing is that they're doing, think about what they're doing to their own, let's just say, nation state fiefdoms in there. They're destroying them to impose sanctions on the EU until this travesty is reversed, an extraordinary escalation typically reserved for U.S. adversaries. The fight over X springs from worldview formalized in Trump's national security strategy, which accuses the EU of regulatory suffocation and subversion of democratic processes. I agree. At the heart of the allegations is mass migration. The White House argues that European elites have unleashed demographic change through open borders while silencing critics who warn of its consequences. Musk and Vance, who previewed many of these arguments in blistering speech at the Munich Security Conference, had championed far-right parties in Europe, including Germany's AfD. You can see that. The type of interference in domestic politics is now codified in Trump's security strategy, which calls for cultivating resistance within the EU member states as a remedy to Europe's civilization erasure. Between the lines, Trump's strategy also calls into question whether the EU allies can remain liable. NATO members due to demographic change and declares an end to the perception of NATO as perpetually expanding alliance. Think about that. They're intrinsically, let's just say, connected, tied together in some way. We're still flipping the bill. Almost 80 to 90% of our economic funding goes to keep NATO afloat, and it's a Cold War relic in some way. You know, I wonder if this is going to be a buffer, a sticking point, a stalking horse per se, that in general that will undercut the relations between the United States, EU, and NATO, and help bring down, let's just say, us leaving. Could we walk away from NATO because of the EU? I could see that. I mean, still a lot of countries are not ponying up what their righteous amount is due. Canada owes, what, 380 million, some ridiculous amount of money that they're never going to be able to pay and pony up for their investment in NATO. And NATO's become what? It's become a rift. I mean, so when you look at it this right now, this is also, I think, in some way, a stalking horse. I think it also is in some way that it hurts the actual, I think, Ukrainian-Russian peace plan in some way, because you still have elements inside the EU that are pushing for more and more weapons, pushing for more and more resolutions, help Zelensky redefining what they want to do on this peace plan proposal, all about the land, all about how much they're going to give up. For one thing, the White House and Kremlin are largely aligned in the skepticism of Europe's strength and strategic value. Bottom line, taken together, the weekend's events mark profound break in post-war order. Europe, for the timing, couldn't be worse. I think that this is going to be a strain inside between the EU and NATO. EU in the sense of, again, fostering and promoting Ukraine and help stringing along this war to continue on until a peace plan is settled in some way, while undercutting NATO's, let's just say, demarcation with the United States and its opportunity of expanding. Because in some way, the idea that they were going to be part of this and there was no deal in any way that we would allow NATO, Ukraine to be part of NATO, this would never happen in this way. And now the EU is saying, look, if you give up too much land and seize too much land to them in some way, that's just we might have no choice to put them in there. And that's a sticking argument in general. And I think right now you have to push back against the EU and say, look, if you are willing to do this and not figure out this peace plan and overtalk and overthink Zelensky and convince him that not signing this deal is beneficial, then we're out of here and it's all you. We'll leave you with this truck. Oh, and by the way, we might consider reevaluating our relationship with the European Union and NATO.
Yeah, I think we should do all the above. I mean, I think we should dip out on Ukraine. It's not our problem. Let Russia deal with it.
Right.
Let Europe deal with it. It's not, it really, and then the other one is, I think we should stop giving our money. I think we should slowly defund our money from deplatform our money from NATO and let the son of a bitch die on the vine. If they want NATO, let them have it. We don't need it. We need to protect our own spot. We're not here to protect the damn Europe. And they become, like we talked about earlier, they're more of an enemy now than they ever have been.
Right. And increasingly, their rhetoric about how they view democracy, constitutional rights, Bill of Rights in general, and how they view us in the same semblance they treat each other in Europe, that is a problem. And you know what? This, I think, in some way, the EU-NATO scenario, which is basically one and all, per se, you need to bifurcate it. We need to separate that. We need to cut it in half. And look, could we walk away from NATO in general? I don't know if President Trump wants to do that, but that could be a bridge to, in some way, to reevaluate our relationship with the EU in general. And I think the EU has to reconsider how they view this war, because they're really concerned about what? Their own relations with their own countries and how they treat us. They look at us in some ways that having too much flexibility, too much viability, too many guns, too much free speech, too much religion, all the things that their antithesis relegates them as a pagan culture. I would say a very dark and ominous setting of these nation state European countries. I mean, how many of these countries they are Christian, that believe in God anymore? What happened to Great Britain? What happened to France? They're slowly losing their identity over and over again through Muslim invasions, third worlders in general. Many other people have basically just invaded these countries, taken over the culture, have broken them down systematically, and they're losing who they are. Why do we want to, in some way? And President Trump wants to help them in some way. He wants to make sure that they don't lose that they don't fall in some way. And it's odd that we're doing the best we can, where they're pushing back and trying to sue us for having these types of rights and things that they used to 20, 30 years ago when they were in defense against communism. Thea gifted the phone. Thank you so much. True Terran, maybe exoskeleton battle ready suit. That would be cool. Yeah, I mean, I could see a whole host of AI gear coming into place. It's not just going online, like I was saying about Skynet, but that's one indication. You could think about how many other types of Iron Man technology things that are out there, especially with drone technology and smart, let's just say, smart drone technology. I mean, are we going to have planes like drones flying without people in them? That'll be interesting, per se. I mean, I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know how we should look at this in some way. I'm concerned about where this goes online, where these appendages fall into place. I'm worried about that. I am. I'm wondering how big and how broad this is going to be expansive. And we don't know. We don't know about anything about AI. I think everybody just has cautions, just the way, because Peter Thiel speaks about AI is going to be the new golden god, and it's going to lead us to the Antichrist. You got Elon Musk coming out and saying, there is a creator. I believe in God. Look at all the wonderful things that are built in this universe. He went on this diatribe speaking to Stephen Miller's wife the other day. Interesting insight to what he was talking about. All right, let's get to the big stuff. So this was in my Telegram for like 48 hours. I know other people looking at it and using it, but this was an excellent overview, I believe, of Clandestine's newsletter. Right-wing influencers are under psychological attack. I think in some way, before I start this, I think it's not just psychological attack. I think there is something else that is involved here that has crept into these right-wing influencers, or influencers per se. People come out of the blue. You could tell that there's a Fed invasion, an intelligence operation that have moved through, that have pervasively swept through, and they use these psyops to, yes, splinter MAGA. And I believe with this 100%. And it's much more than when we're saying, and we're going to break this down. Nefarious entities bombarded right-wing influencers with waves of bots to persuade, entice, bully them into pushing anti-Trump narratives. Influencers were positively reinforced with millions of likes, views when they say negative things about Trump and Israel. Many are stuck in a dopamine loop, chasing likes, views, and are rewarded by saying Trump, Israel bad. Most don't know they're even being manipulated. They are unwittingly stooges. They have no idea that they are being artificially boosted by nefarious entities with the intent of shifting public perception and sabotaging Trump support 100%. I believe we've been witnessing this. It's a highly coordinated psychological op. Right-wing influences were the target. Once these entities controlled the influences via positive reinforcement, monetary incentive, at ad review, they're all able to produce and push an anti-Trump narrative through the influences directly to Trump supporters. Now the mainstream media has lost substantial influence of the public. Deep state entities are aiming to control the influences. In many cases, they are succeeding. We are now the media, and anyone who has influence is a target. You are engaged in a psychological information warfare, whether you know it or not. Yes. And you are being persuaded. I mean, let's just start out with the influencers controlling the narrative about Epstein. Drop the files. Pam Body's got to be fired. All this stuff about Epstein. And now look what happened with Epstein now. We signed the Transparent Act. You got Bondi reviewing all these things. You got the judges going to release all this information. That was one of them. The other thing, all right, that was out there that were pushing was the Israel thing. The Israel thing, left and right. Trump's all Israel, taking all this money. We're talking about all the shekels and all this other stuff. You're a Fed, you're a Fed, you're a Fed. You're a Zionist. You're this, you're that, you're the other thing. And everybody got caught up and swept into this and blaming all this on one thing or another. Is everything about Israel? Is everything about the Zionist control of America? No, not everything is. All right. All right. I don't know what the percentage is, but not all of it. All right. There's elements of that in certain agencies and certain groups and with AIPAC inside controlling the House of Representatives. I don't disagree with that narrative. However, all right, it's not as extensive as you think it is. All right. It's only targeted in certain areas. We see the influence with Instagram and all these other things. But the other thing that the influencers did that have somehow fallen under the smell. All right. This is recently, which we're going to get into. This is the whole discussion about the Charlie Kirk assassination. We'll get to Crooks. We'll talk about that as well. We'll talk about January 6th and the pipe bomber. You notice how that's kind of like fizzled out. No one really cares about that. No one's really talking about it. But up until a point, we were talking about it every day, every other day with the video footage. And all of a sudden now that this guy comes out, he's I guess I don't know what he is. He's a My Pony lover. I don't know what the hell he is. He's a furry. He likes avatars. He plays video games. A lot of this stuff is kind of like descended out. I think the argument about that was what I said about how I feel about how the FBI got their man. I don't buy the narrative at all. And a lot of people overall, when you look about how they perceive the FBI, the federal government in general, controlling the narrative in these situations and stuff, whether they're uncovering, rediscovering the truth and actually arresting people and getting to the bottom of things that wasn't done for years ago and stuff, whether you like Patel, Bondi, or Bongino, it's irrelevant. We have right now this psychological warfare that's being engaged, being influenced in some way. Let's take right now what we're going to discuss. The argument is about Charlie Kirk's assassination. It's gotten so ostensibly, let's just say out of hand. Out of hand because TPUSA didn't handle it properly with the question and answers. The way the wife came off, it sounded contrived, phony. She goes on this book tour. She's now on Fox News. You have Candace Owens asking questions, one of the few people, whether she's off the reservation or not, asking questions. Let me ask you something. Are we allowed to have healthy skepticism, scrutiny? Isn't that honest and humble? Isn't that fair? What happened to critical thinking? Prudent, constructive doubt, intellectual caution, sensible, judicious doubt when we get into these things. Why is it that we can surmise, review, condense, outline, provide an overview to other things that seem so out of sorts, so crazy, not adding up, that don't compute, look suspicious, but doesn't tally, and seems what? Absolutely preposterous. But for some reason, we can't have discussions regarding the death, the circumstance around Charlie Kirk. And the question is, as I said on Tom's show, that a lot of people ran with, and I was making the observation and comparison to JFK. not because he's like JFK as the president. A lot of people ran with that and said, hey, what is he saying? I'm saying the online presence, how big and the notoriety of him per se. What I'm speaking to about is the whole argument that's been so conflated that you cannot ask the questions properly at the time, and anything that you say or ask is basically what the term was, sub rosa. And we'll get to that, Marshall.
Yeah, I mean, when they go into this stuff with Candace Owens, and they go into this whole stuff with Charlie Kirk, and you see that's one side, and you see another side, and this is what continually goes on. It's just nonstop. It's all over X. I mean, it's just, and I'm like, look,
well, this is part of the psychological warfare that we're
Right.
discussing. All right,
Yeah,
and it's being pitted against one another because the people who supposedly used to have critical thinking, or at least we think have critical thinking in some way, are not allowed to critically think about how we perceive Charlie Kirk's death. Do we absolutely? I mean, I'm for one, I don't buy the narrative that it was this guy. And there are people out there saying, you know what, you're going to eat crow, you're going to eat dick because the discovery is going to come out January 20th. So be it. Let it come out. But that doesn't mean, all right, we have to stifle people, all right, to ask questions, whether, she's on the deep end or not. All right, she has basically sucked all the oxygen out of the air, and it's making people flip out. Look, Lionel Nation came out and said this. Is this about jealousy? Is this about envy and resentment? Yeah, I would say so. I would agree with that premise. All right. There's a lot of people who don't like the fact is that she's taking up so much oxygen in the room, and she's loving every minute of it and doing it. People are pissed off because for some reason, people want to move off the narrative. All right. They want to move off this in some way, and we're going to explain this. You can continue.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm gonna come right out and say it. The whole thing with Erica Kirk going on tour on every channel that you can think of, it's just it's really so over the top, Brett.
Yeah, I didn't see Kennedy. I didn't see Jackie Onassis Kennedy go out on tour during the 60s. Well, it was a different time. I didn't see her on CBS. I didn't see her doing interviews. Okay.
Well, it's so over the top, Brett, that all of this whole thing with Charlie Kirk's supposed death or whatever, the whole thing is so over the top. Nobody believes the narrative that they're trying to push.
No,
the whole thing is it's crazy.
But there are many people trying to convince you and I. I don't care what Candace Owens says. Okay, all right.
Yeah,
I don't care.
I don't really care either. I don't even. I can look at it just as me and you. Yeah. We're looking at it, and the whole thing is bullshit.
Yeah, I don't
believe
Candace
any
Owens.
of it. I don't believe.
I don't need her to lean on her, and I'm not part of her group. I don't follow her, subscribe to her.
To convince me.
I can have my own critical thinking, my own thought process, and you know what? Be attacked, all right, because I'm crazy for asking the same questions or looking at it in a different manner. Ex-CIA Patrick Byrne, ladies and gentlemen, claims that the reports of French intelligence targeting Candace Owens for assassination are true.
I believe that.
Okay? Byrne goes to explain on Alex Jones that Brigitte Macron allegedly being a man, also true. It's just another reason why they're coming after Candace. This is the only surface level. The ties and things that are allegedly involved are much darker and span to multiple elite around the world. All Bridget has to do is take a mouth swab test, and she won't do it. Why? One must focus on that. Byrne makes an excellent point on this and is continuing to bring attention to our manipulated elections here in the United States. This is a global election fraud cartel, and it must be stopped. I'm going to say this all. The only attack when you speak the truth. I'm not going to play this per se. I'll play a little bit because it's like 7 minutes.
He has a wife that he met.
Well, they admit when he was 14 and she was the teacher, he dated her.
39.
So it's pedo stuff, bare minimum.
Yeah, bare minimum. Then they got married. But so 25-year age difference. She initially said Macron's wife is actually a man who transitioned. I think she later came out and I know she's later came out and said it's act.
Okay, so he's defending that with the whole Macron thing. I could care less about Macron's wife. or what have you, whether it's trans or not. I mean, I don't understand the relevance of that in some way. And some people have to explain to me, well, what's the meaning of that? But you know what? She ran with that for a while and she came out victorious. Apparently, the lawsuit was dropped. Nothing else happened. And so she gained even more notoriety. So conservatives applaud Erica Kirk's stunning takedown of Candace Owens. Wow. Are applauding the Turning Point USA, Erica Kirk, after grieving widow delivered a stunning takedown of conspiracy theories about her husband's death and what was widely viewed as a rebuke of Candace Owens. On Wednesday, Erica Kirk took to Fox News. So all of a sudden now that all the conservatives that hate Fox News, or all the people that have critical thinking, that are online, that are influencers, that are in the Psyop thing, they're all supporting Fox News and Erica Kirk coming to condemn these emmets. Her a breaking point on this time, she came after me, called names. I don't care. Call me what you want. Go down the rabbit hole, whatever. But when you go after my family, my Turning Point USA family, my Charlie Kirk Show family, you go after the people I love. And you're making hundreds of thousands of dollars in every single episode. Let me say this. And I want to be clear about this. Okay. Erica Kirk is attacking her or other people for making money. Let's just say Candace Owens, right? Making money, where she made Buco Bling $15 million in one night and $90 million after Kirk's death while doing a book tour defending TPUSA and attacking anyone who dares to question the narrative. Man, that sounds rich to me. I mean, that's just shocking in some way. But yet you go on Fox News and anybody that has a critical voice or has a voice that's different from your resounding voice, you want to attack us or attack anybody that pushes back and bounce the narrative. So it goes on after that. I love because this is somehow on this. And no, said the conservative political activist, if people think that I was just going to wilt away, I'm not going to sit in a corner and cry and be in a fiddle position. This is the duty to my husband, and it's an absolute honor. We'll never back down. Okay. So you have Graham Allen here. Yes, Erica Kirk destroyed those making money defaming her. Okay, we'll play a little bit.
Come after me. Call me names. I don't care. Call me what you want. Go down that rabbit hole. Whatever. But when you go after my family, my Turning Point USA family, my Charlie Kirk Show family, when you go after the people that I love, and
let me ask you a question. Why do they continue to have the Charlie Kirk Show? I know you want to continue to memorialize them and stuff and make money off of them. I mean, yeah, it's a stolen name.
They stole his whole fucking thing, man.
I mean, honestly, when you think about it, why don't you move on from that? You already memorialized this guy. You're going to set up another memorial in some way. Why is it that you want to continue on? Why don't you change it? You're now the CEO of Turning Point USA. Start another show. Start another platform. Shuttle this, the Charlie Kirk Show.
What was her maiden name? Call it that. Whatever her maiden name.
I don't understand why they're doing this. I mean, this is what you're doing is you're using his name to profit off his name, but you're accusing other people of grifting and grafting in the similar fashion.
And I don't trust the club.
Hundreds and thousands of dollars every single episode going after the people that I love.
Look at the ring she's got on.
They're in
Look
on
at that
this.
shit, man.
No.
You know, I have to say it. I've never seen you like this.
No, this is righteous anger because
Here we go.
This is not okay. It's not healthy. This is a mind virus. Yes, I believe in our judicial system. We have
fucking bird hands.
Yeah. All right. Well said. This is a clear difference between Erica Kirk and Candace Owens. This bizarre and purely researched conspiracy simply cannot compete with the real and righteous indignation she goes through. Erica Kirk, full of righteous anger, outnumbered in FNC and the malicious slander and hateful conspiracy theorizing that she and TPUSA have to deal with is despicable. Erica Kirk sounds off on people like Candace Owens. I have righteous anger. Okay. So it just goes on. Benny Johnson, all the usual suspects. Meghan McCain is the epitome of class and grace. I applaud her righteous anger and support her mission to literally hundreds of millions of other Americans. Okay. Stephanie Hamill. There we go. Attacking Candace Owens. So you could see a whole narrative being contrived and orchestrated to what? Make sure and push back that no one is allowed to question anything. Benny Johnson again. He's got his own problems. Prada Sheepshanker, MD, a lot of people. I'll get to a couple other things. Harris Faulkner, Katie Pavlich. Yeah, the usual suspects on Fox News. You know, the Fox News fake conservatives, as I call them per se. Yeah, I mean, that's who they are, Marshall. We'll get to other stuff. Go ahead.
I want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Do you guys, or do you, Brett? Do you think that this is all meant for us to see this shit so that we start seeing shit that's going on?
Yeah.
It kind of
Well, I
feels
also
like
think
that.
it's a distraction.
I'm feeling like, well, yeah, that too. But
Yeah.
I think we're supposed to see it's so, I hate to say it again, it's so over the top. No, I want to say it better. It's so obvious that this shit is all bullshit. People are like going, what? You know, I don't believe it. I don't buy this. The kid on the roof with the
But this is
30
part of the
stick.
psyop that I'm saying. That's what Clandestine was talking about, the influence in
Yeah,
general. And this could be also perceived in that manner that a lot of people are being influenced improperly about saying there's nothing to see here. You need to move on. And what you're doing, what Candace Owens is doing, and many other, all right, are making shit up or being somehow mind fucked into believing that it wasn't this guy in some way, Tyler Robinson, and we got it all wrong. And what we're doing is we're causing more problems. We're affecting a grieving mother. Let me say this in this. I mean, look, the way I look at this, the way this continues on, the way we see this weaponized empathy, this manipulative sympathy, this love bombing, as I call it, it's love bombing. Gaslighting with empathy, this dark empathy, all right, which I think is, did she go on Fox as the widow of Charlie or as the CEO and chairman of Turning Point to further exploit vicarious emotions? Ask yourself that. And yet, we're not allowed to critically ask questions. We are deemed kooks, or we have been, let's just say, mind-fucked by the psychological operations of influences per se. I'm not following anybody. I'm just asking relevant questions. Why is it that we can't critique anything regarding Charlie's death? Why is it that you can't? But for some ungodly reason that is preposterous and intolerable, that this is off book, off script, off topic, as I call sub rosa, which is confidential, not to be spoken of. Here's a Latin term. Vetnium est loqui, forbidden to speak about. Why is it that we cannot speak about this? Why is this being hushed away? I know that there is a discussion because of what's taking place on January 20th and 21st, that will get into pretrial motion discoveries. And all the evidence will unfurl out, and then we'll all eat crow and all eat dick because we'll all be wrong, and the evidence will say. It's what I said on Tom's show yesterday. If that is true, then someone explain to me why that when this guy, Tyler Robinson, surrendered, all right, and the actual video footage of him walking in with the sheriff, coming in to the police department, was wiped clean. Well, it was on a 30-day loop, and no one, someone seeded the evidence in some way to hold this. Are you kidding me? You kidding me? They erased that completely, and no one's asking a simple piece of evidence of him surrendering, walking with the sheriff and his family into the police station, which you think the defense would want to see, right? You think the defense would want to utilize that to show the jury, but they can't show the jury now. They can't bring this up in a pretrial motion because that evidence is gone. And so if this is just one of the illusions that were installed for a pretrial motion that we're going to see in discovery, what else is going to reappear and disappear, Marshall?
Man, I tell you, it is so thick with this shit. It just, you cannot believe any of this. From the very beginning, we have talked about this since it happened, that this is just complete. There is no way. Where's the funeral? Where's the autopsy? Where is the headstone? Where was he buried? Just tell me where he was buried so I can leave some flowers.
Now, I'll give this point about that, and I'll say this. All right. Now, we'll cover that. Now, I can understand why they don't want that information because they don't want it to be desecrated. Because there are people who will go find it and will desecrate it. And so I will say that, and I could say that. See, I'm reasonable. I could say that.
I get it. I get it.
Okay, but look, I get it in some way. I think that's a reasonable explanation that you don't want that, so people will trample over it and destroy it and desecrate it in any way. That's one logical conclusion. The other logical conclusion, he didn't have a burial. He was cremated. Okay, that's the second one. That's a reasonable expectation, but he was Christian, right? So you think, why would he be cremated in some way? The other thing is, he wasn't buried at all. And I wonder why that is. So Tucker Carlson breaks the silence on Charlie Kirk assassination. He's not buying the official FBI narrative. See, this is the whole point. I think there's a lot of people logically looking at this, critically thinking, that are prudent, that have constructive doubt about how we see the FBI and how we view the FBI's overview of this. Remember, it's Kash Patel went on Megyn Kelly and said, look, we're still investigating this whole thing. But yet, the Utah police, which is their jurisdiction because it's a murder trial, not a federal, it's a state scenario, state death penalty. We're still investigating it from external embers. Okay, that's fine. Look, I can understand it. It's logical to say that in some way. But if you're saying that he's the guy, why are you investigating anything further? What is there to investigate about? What are you looking at about the assassination of Charlie? Why would you just say that as a leap of faith and say, no, we got the guy, but we're still looking at other scenarios that are involved? Is there more than one? Because if there's more than one, hence the name, a conspiracy. All right? That's the same argument we had with JFK. I saw some questions. You're right, Brett. It's all contrived. Yes, the grifting. How ironic that Charlie was about asking questions. Excellent point. That's the whole point. Why is it that his wife can go on Fox News and then basically just destroy his reputation about people critically thinking, Marshall, and asking questions? Because you don't like those questions being asked, and yet your husband espoused of having this Socratic dialogue that he spoke of
He wanted to ask
eloquently
questions.
all the time at college campuses.
He always wanted to ask questions, always. And the fact that, look, who runs Fox News?
There you go.
Think about that one. That's a one for you. It's a little state over in the Middle East. I'll let you figure that one out.
All right, let's play this.
And I love his wife and know his wife well. And so I feel emotional about it. So, I just haven't wanted everything to do with it. But I will say a couple of things. I don't understand the official story at all.
Of his assassination?
I don't understand it. And I want to make sure that there is a truly rigorous and honest federal investigation of it. And I'm definitely concerned about that. A. B, I think that I don't know many of the details, but I know that recently Candace said that Egyptian registered aircraft were following Erica Kirk, Charlie's widow, around for a number of years in different places in the world. That's one of the weirdest things I've ever heard. Yeah. And I just want to say that is factually true. That's true. So that is true. That I happen to know is true.
So
what does that mean? I have literally no.
So what happened? So if the Secretary of Transportation, Sean Duffy, said that plane had nothing to do with Charlie Kirk and stuff, that wasn't related to that in some way, and that wasn't an Egyptian flight and stuff, where was that plane that they're talking about? That's another argument. That's another element. And Candace Owens and many other people said, well, that was the plane. And they dismissed that automatically. So what is Tucker Carlson talking about? And where did he get that information? How is he able to verify this in some way? That's a logical question to ask him and say, how did you come about this in some way? Where are you getting your information from?
No idea. I can't even guess, but that's very, very strange.
And what is Egyptian? It could mean aircraft from Egypt. Who knows?
I think that they were registered in Egypt.
Got it.
And so, but that fact is true. So
well, why would they be following them around? What reason can we understand that? Can anybody explain to me? Can you illustrate an example of why? Who was following them around? See, you throw this stuff out there, and this is why, when you're playing devil's advocate, and you could see a lot of people saying, like Candace Owens and now Tucker, a lot of people like, what are they saying? But he's verifying it. It's been verified that Egyptian plane was here in May as well. Okay, let's continue on.
And it also her claim that there were kind of a disproportionately large number of foreign registered cell phones at the event. That's also true. So what does that add up to? I don't know, but it means that
is that what the FBI is investigating? Is that what Kash Patel is investigating? Maybe. It's possible. I mean, Kash Patel said it on Megyn Kelly. So what connection does that? And what is this connection with the plane that they're not speaking about?
FBI has a moral and legal obligation to look in every direction and to be open-minded as you would in any investigation, in journalism, in science. It's all the same process. I don't know the answer, and I'm going to sift through everything as open-mindedly as I can, as honestly as I can, to get to what the truth is. That's science, that's law enforcement, that's journalism. It's all the same. That's justice. And I just want to make sure that is happening, and I just don't have a ton of confidence.
All right, so he believes that isn't happening in some way. And basically everything's just been thrown out the window with the baby with the bathwater, because the healthy skepticism, the scrutiny, no longer is possible. We can no longer have critical thinking. We're not allowed to ask questions. Again, I'll ask you why everything is preposterous and intolerable. What is it that this is? And yes, Lionel Nation said it, and I agree with them. Is this about jealousy, envy, and resentment? Are they pushing back on this? Was this machine made? Was this constructed, fabricated? Was this engineered, contrived, staged force? All right, to keep this outside the narrative, and to run the argument of this rancor and animus, okay, on another side, to co-opt this and then make it so that we have to feel in some way empathetic or sympathetic, because, I think there was a period of time. They memorialized this guy. They had heads of state go there in Phoenix. How many people attended to this thing? A shit ton of people. The president, the vice president, half his cabinet was there. I didn't see his family speak, which I thought was odd. The kids weren't there. It was like a turning point. And they want to do another one. And they raised money and funds off that. And so if you ask questions about that, pointing that out, you were considered a son of a bitch. You were considered a piece of shit for critically asking, okay, this seems a little over the top, I mean, that's what I was pointing out to Thomas yesterday in True Reporting. It's like, I mean, does it seem like he was bigger than JFK? Well, the way they memorialized this guy, it was, because with JFK, what did they do? They basically, quickly as possible, disposed of the body, misplaced the brain, and then swore in LBJ, and it was over and done with. Magic bullet, cleaned the car. They wiped everything away. I'm just saying it's not so dissimilar of what we see here right now. And if you mention a conspiracy narrative, which is more than one person in this matter, you get your head freaking, I just think that there are logical questions that are not being asked, and we're saving the argument because TPUSA said we don't want to say anything to influence the jury because of the pretrial motions. Okay, fair enough. I get that. We don't want to say anything that's going to some way interdict and make the jury or pretrial motions or discovery turn into some OJ trial. They don't want to have this circus. Okay, but are there going to be cameras in there? Because we're hearing the defense doesn't want cameras in there, but the prosecution does, which is odd. You'd think it would be the opposite in some way.
The only thing that was missing from this, his memorial and all that, was the golden casket. That was the only thing missing, because they made it so big and so over the top. And I'll use that phrase again. It was over the top and so big for a reason. There is a reason for them doing that, man. And it's all now we continue with this tour all over Fox News and all the other channels, wherever. I mean, I'm surprised she hasn't showed up on The View yet. There's something about all this that you just
why do you need to go on there and defend? I understand now. So are you speaking? So let's just ask this logically. So she's not really speaking anymore as the widow of Charlie Kirk. She's going on
as TP.
Fox News as the CEO and chief executive of TPUSA. That's what it sounds like to me. And then she's talking about all this other stuff behind the scenes and defending her coworkers and defending all that stuff, and then promoting a book and all these other things, entanglements and stuff like that, and then pushing back about anybody speaking, anybody speaking out of turn on that and going on Fox News and using them as a bully pulpit to push back against anybody and calling people a kook. I find it really disgusting that you just can't ask questions. And what happened to the people who claim their truth or movement inside a truth movement, okay, who want to get to the truth, but basically say, well, no, the book is shut. I mean, it's all done. We'll find out next month. And so why don't you just shut up and let's wait till discovery, and then we can ask questions as the trial goes on.
I want to ask a question, Brett.
Okay.
What country or what group of people can you not question?
Exactly.
I'll just ask that.
Yeah.
And I'll let y'all figure it out.
Well, this is part of the conversation with Clandestine.
Question?
Clandestine was putting that newsletter out, and he's saying that there's a psychological operation that's going on where a lot of the influencers are under the spell and under the guise in some way. And, you can even take this in some ways that the people that support Candace Owens or the people that support Turning Point, how about the people that are in the middle who don't care? We're just fence sitters looking at this and saying, I don't care. I don't care about Candace Owens. All right. And it's not even about what she says. I mean, she's basically sucked all the oxygen out of the air all over the place. It's all about her. And now it's her versus TPUSA and about getting to the bottom of the truth and stuff. And I don't think we're how much closer we're going to get there. I think we're going to have to wait to this trial. We're going to see the discovery motions and see some of this evidence come out. I think that's where it is. And yes, I understand. There are people like, you're going to eat crow. You're going to eat dick because you weren't patient enough. Okay, so I have to be patient enough to wait for discovery and evidence that may or may not appear, just like the evidence that happened to be destroyed right before or thereafter. Tyler Robinson walked into the police department, and that video footage happened to just disappear into the ether because it was on a 30-day loop, and a lot of that stuff is just all accidental. Do you buy that? Do you buy that? I mean, let's play this. Elon Musk says the assassination of Charlie Kirk made it even impossible to go out in public. See, this is an interesting take. I like this take. I like where he's going with this.
I can't go to things where there's the general public because there's an immediate, can I have a selfie line that forms. And these days, particularly in light of Charlie Kirk's murder, there are serious security issues. It's not that I don't want to, I simply can't.
Has Charlie's murder changed how you do things? Or were you already locked down pretty well before that?
It certainly reinforced the severity of the situation where life is on hardcore mode. You make one mistake and you're dead. It only takes one mistake.
You did something extremely ordinary, like go to Target or CVS.
I think that's kind of a striking response in some way. Is he wrong? I agree that he's 100% right. I think that is he also intimating the idea that Charlie Kirk didn't take his safety seriously in some way? Or was it that the apprehension to highlight, as Candace said 48 hours ago, that no one inside TPUSA took his security as seriously as it was conveyed when supposedly she's saying that she has evidence to suggest through text messages or emails or what have you, and other people coming out and saying he was worried about his viability going forward before going to Utah. Okay. I mean, Marshall, your thoughts about that, and what do you think about Elon Musk?
Well, no, he's exactly right, and I don't blame him one bit. I mean, people are chewing him up on X all day long.
Right.
I see the posts, and I mean, I don't blame him a bit.
Mhm.
And what he said about, or kind of conveyed in a way, Charlie Kirk, or what you did, you kind of alluded to, is that Charlie Kirk, he had bad people around him, and that's what makes me worry. That's my opinion. That's what makes me worry to a degree about Trump. He has to be very, very careful about who's around him and who he's got running some operations. I like most of the people, but there's some I don't trust.
Right.
I'm not going to name the names, but there's a few that I don't trust.
Mhm.
And they're directing him in certain ways that are, look, there's some articles you're going to come up with in a minute. We'll discuss further. So I'll stop there.
Yeah. I mean, look, I don't disagree with the discussion here and stuff. I mean, where we are, but I think in some way, a lot of the stuff that we're being told to sit down and shut up, I find it offensive.
Yeah,
I find it offensive. I find it. I just wonder what happened about a lot of these big name platforms who've lost their way. I think so. MHL1, gift of the cookie. Questioning is fine. DNA of Robinson is all over the gun. Spent shell casing, etc. Candace is trash. She is a shit stirrer that claims victimhood after she's been proven wrong. Look it up. She docks Republicans in the early 2010. Yeah, that's fine. I'm not on Candace's side. Okay. I'm just discussing the idea is that why is it that anybody that wants to have a conversation of healthy skepticism about this is just shot down? I'm neither here or there about Candace. Okay. But I do believe what Lionel said. There is an element of jealousy, envy, resentment, rancor, animus, umbrage, malice, bile, gale, and acrimony that has seeped into the culture of all this, of this movement per se. And people sit on both sides of the fence, let's just say, hurling shitballs all the time. Would USA donating 391 gold pills. Support the boys stream. Need more gold pill love. Thank you so much. Super D donating 117 gold pills. What's up, Curious Cat? Dropping the cookie. I appreciate that. Yeah, could be true. That would be awful at Aloha Mom. Yeah, look, I understand that. As I move on, let me play this, and I'll ask you this question. And you're right, MLH1. All right, I'm on my side. This is the We Are Rise side. I'm not on Candace's side. I'm not on this. But it's how you perceive this and how you look at this that I find in some way that we cannot surmise, review, condense, outline, and provide an overview to things that seem out of sorts. And what really bothers me about that is that that is a stifling way of controlling a certain narrative that only one people want you to see. I'm not one of these people that buy all the stuff that is out there, but there are legitimate questions that I think that still have not been answered from Candace and from TPUSA. And I think that just leaves so much room to chance and doubt. I guess we'll have to wait for the trial. Just for the record, I don't believe Charlie is alive. What a conspiracy theorist taking from you. Listen to this. Erica, can I have one thing? Can I have my children one thing? Everything was public. This is my husband. We're building a memorial. What are conspiracy theorists taking from you? Nothing. Just for the record, I don't believe Charlie Kirk is alive. That's an interesting and odd thing to say in an interview. Why would you say, I don't believe Charlie's alive? Wait a minute. You just went on a rant tearing people that he's dead, made money and profit off it, wrote a book, and then you're saying, I don't believe he's alive. So do you believe that you think he faked his death? He was brutally murdered in front of everyone. It's in the center of a menorah. And yes, I believe this was a grander conspiracy to take him out more than Tyler Robertson. Okay, let's listen to this.
Of the conspiracies that are out there, this disturbing part that people are trying to guess where Charlie is.
Can I have one thing? Can I have one thing? Can my children have one thing? Everything was public. We will be building the most beautiful memorial for my husband at Turning Point USA, and it will be for the world to see, and it will be spectacular, and it will have basically museum style for our Charlie, for my Charlie. But can I have one thing? Can my babies have one thing where we hold it sacred, where my husband is laid to rest, where I don't have to be worried about some secular revolutionary coming and destroying my husband's grave while my daughter is sitting there praying? One thing. This is my husband. Yes, he was Charlie Kirk to the world, and I know so many people love my husband, and I am grateful for that. But this is my husband, and I want to be able to have one thing left that is sacred to our family, to my in-laws, to my babies, and to my parents. One thing.
What are they taking from you right now?
Nothing.
Nothing. And she goes on to say, because that was up here, it says nothing. Just for the record, I don't believe Charlie's alive. He was brutally murdered in front of everyone in the center of menorah. Okay, well, that's MJ Truth putting that out there. Okay, that's fine. And there are people that was MJ Truth. There are people that just don't believe you know, that in general. They don't believe he faked his death in some way. All right, moving on.
Was
Marshall,
that MJ Truth's point, or was it?
Yeah, that was no, it was MJ Truth's point about that. He don't believe the narrative that Charlie Kirk faked his death.
Okay, all right.
All right.
I disagree.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. I mean, all right.
And I think there's a certain degree that he did die.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? We'll never know.
I don't think anybody knows for sure what's really going on per se. You know what bothers me about this? The idolatry that's involved with this. We're going to build this.
Yes,
I find the idolatry and the memorialization of this whole thing over the top.
Just like
And
George
to me,
Floyd,
that's bothersome to me.
Same
It really
thing.
is. I mean, if we're saying that, you know, he's bigger than JFK, that's what I was trying to intimate. Is he, from the standpoint of the Zoomers and the millennials and these people in general? Is that how they perceive him? I mean, she's going on these tours to say we're going to have this big monster thing, and we're going to do all these different things. They're raising buku bucks all over. I mean, that's what it's very disconcerting to me in some way. I understand that she's now the head honcho of this organization. She's slipped, right in there. They made her the chief operating officer, and she's got to now build this network up. I just find a lot of this stuff disconcerting, and I'll look forward to the trial and covering all the information regarding the discovery and stuff, and we'll see where the chips fall on that. I mean, like I said, I'm just tired of the weaponized empathy. I'm tired of the fact is that the manipulative sympathy, the love bombing that we get tossed at all the time, because if you make a flicker, a thought about a perceived notion about what is or isn't about him in general, you get attacked. And I've never seen it. This is so strikingly, and I think a lot of people, the younger generation, don't know JFK. They don't know that. They didn't know the conspiracy theories surrounding it back in the 70s and 80s and the 90s that went through it. They don't understand all that stuff. Amen, Brett. Building a TPUSA shrine to memorialize them. Ugh. Yes, I agree with that. Aloha, Mom. All right. I wanted to show you this. This is Mario Nofal. I wanted to get to the NDAA before we because we're running out of time. I wanted to show you this because this just passed today. Breaking: House passes $900 billion defense bill, 312 to 112. The House passed the National Defense Authorization Act tonight on a bipartisan 312-112 vote. The legislation includes a provision that withhold 25% of the War Secretary Pete Hegseth's travel budget until the Pentagon provides Congress with video of military strikes on alleged drug boats. Wow. The provision also requires the Pentagon, because they want to impeach him. They're trying to impeach. There's articles of impeachment for Bobby Kennedy right now. So they're trying to systematically go after every cabinet member they can that's uncovering the truth and basically making sure that their positions in place to hurt and splinter the administration. Adam Smith, top Democrat on the House Armed Services Committee, said the language would help Congress reassert itself as a co-equal branch of government. House Armed Services Chairman Mike Rogers signaled that he's prepared to end the committee's investigation after viewing the footage in classified briefings, calling it illegal action. But he wants classified briefing where all committee members could see the video and expect next week. The bill authorizes $900 billion in military funding, including a 3.8% pay raise for service members. Well, that sounds good. Repeals 91 and 2002 Iraq War Authorization repeals Syria sanctions, includes provisions to recover Ukrainian children abducted by Russia. Interesting. The measure now heads to the Senate. I thought that was pretty shocking. Funding should come next week for the NDA. It's a trap, and the Dems took the bait. The video will be awesome to see. Yeah, I think that's a logical conclusion that we could see, that they want everybody to see it, and then once this becomes unclassified and it's out there, the media will spin this and play this, and then they'll have egg on their face. And that was one of the last things I wanted to play. I had one more thing for all the people who smoke marijuana. All right, and I just want to put this out there for all you guys out there that smoke marijuana. Supreme Court to decide on the 15th if it will hear a landmark challenge to federal marijuana ban. Interesting. I thought this was pretty shocking. The U.S. Supreme Court will announce on the 15th of December, we'll hear a major challenge to federal marijuana bans brought by state licensed cannabis companies, a decision that could force a reckoning between national law and the patchwork state legal markets. The justices are slated to discuss the petition and Canna Provisions, Inc. versus Garland during a private conference on December 12th. 4 votes are needed to grant a review, which would make it the first time the court directly weighs in the constitutionality and the federal prohibition amid widespread state legalization. Massachusetts-based plaintiffs, Canna Provisions, Geisy Sellers, Wiseacre Farm, Verona Holdings argue in their October petition that the Controlled Substances Act, Schedule 1 classification for marijuana, violates the Commerce Clause by criminalizing purely intrastate activity compliant with state regulations. They seek to overturn 2005 Gonzales-Rake ruling, which upheld federal authority over homegrown cannabis. What they want to do is overturn this to make it federally legal or give way to the opportunity, all right, where federal law will come into play and it'll be federally authorized. At least it'll overturn the rules that say it's not federally prohibitive and then give way to passing federal legislation in the future. Because you think about a lot of these companies, they can't do businesses in banks. And so if this is going to happen in this manner, and President Trump has kind of signaled that this might happen, then we might see federal regulation involved where if they overturn this, the House and the Senate would have to take this up to make sure they can put in their provisions to regulate this federally and allow this to go forward and decriminalize this. Marshall, your thoughts? You smoke marijuana?
Yeah, I do smoke, but very, very little. I mean,
yeah,
I'm not a big. When I was young, I did, but this whole thing has gotten out of control. They're producing this stuff with these places where you go, dispensaries. I would never go near one of those places because I don't know what the hell is in that shit. And I just don't agree. I don't think it. I think that it should be that if you want to have a little toke once in a while, that you grow a little bit on your own, and that's it, and it's for yourself. That's it. I don't think there should be some big market where they've got these guys from out of the country that are growing. They're buying houses and they're growing it in the entire house in neighborhoods, and you don't know what the hell they're putting in it.
Well, see, this is my point about why the Florida ban didn't pass 2 years ago, why it didn't pass in Florida. And I think that it'll be up this year in the midterms. It might be up in the midterms this year. And the question is, they want to make it throughout the state. They just want to legalize it throughout the state and not just have it in 8 or 7 counties per se. They want to expand that, and it's probably going to pass. It's probably going to pass. My argument about this only was not about it passing, is having one entity control this and no oversight. I think that this sets up a good argument that if you are going to overturn this federally, all right, and then that Congress might have to revisit this in such a manner to make sure that there are certain provisions that prevent, let's just say, the DNA or the structure of, let's just say, fine-tuning it, retooling it, making it stronger, making it less weak, the strands of this in some way. And also not having oversight where these people basically have no liability, just like when you look at Big Pharma. See, that's what's concerning to me that I worry about as well.
That's what happened to Big Tobacco.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened to Big Tobacco.
Philip Morris and all that, man. And then he started putting chemicals in all the tobacco. That I think the whole thing should be settled with one simple deal. You can maybe have local producers that are, maybe, but I would say that if you want to have your own little tomato plant via, a little pot plant, that's on you. And you know what you're getting, you know what you've got. All this other stuff, I would never go near.
Well, I would argue that I like the idea of allowing people. I don't smoke weed. I don't
I rarely
I don't
smoke.
recommend it. I don't. But my argument is that if people are going to do it, and you want to remove the federal liability, and this goes through it, well, then that's fine. Then Congress needs to go ahead and mandate this and take it away from these big things. Allow people to what? Allow people. Or what are you going to do? Is it going to be now? It's going to be federally regulated in some way. If that's what you're going to do, okay. Well, then make sure that you set this up. I'm not sure that how this is going to work. I don't know if the Supreme Court is going to look at this and suggest that we're not going to subscribe to this idea. I don't know. I don't know where it's going to go. President Trump has basically said he's moving forward with this. I feel in some way I don't know what's going on with the scratch the releases of the scratch. It's not working. I can't release the scratch off, so I don't know what's happening. So I released them and they're not working. So I don't know what to tell you. All right. So hopefully this will kick in later. I don't know what's going on. I'm sorry about that. That's tonight's show. I tried to, maybe I'll try to do it after the show and see if I can do it, but it's not working and stuff. But anyway, that's tonight's show. And yeah, Marshall, I agree with that. I'd like to see more people be allowed, to incentivize themselves and stuff.
Somebody else doing this stuff.
No, I agree. I wouldn't buy it.
Even if I smoked cigarettes, I would be like, I'd rather have my little tobacco.
That's like me going to a place to where they're doing bootlegged scotch, and then I'm going to take the chances on putting this out there and drinking this stuff and make me blind. No, I'm not doing that. I'll go to my local liquor store and buy my single malt. All right. I'm not going to go and say, oh, I got a guy that makes some. It's half the price and stuff, but I don't know what he's putting in there. He's put. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm not going to drink that.
Gold pills are working now.
Okay, good.
Your gold pills are going out now.
Okay, good. I'm glad it's working out. All right. Well, that's a show and stuff. So thanks, everybody. We will return on
Happy holidays.
Yeah, happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Yeah, we'll return on Friday at 7:30 and stuff. So don't worry about it. There'll be more shows to come. I got other things coming. I'm trying to reassess and redo the Sunday show. So we will get back to you about that. So good night. Ciao, Bella. Be well. Be safe. Take care.